You're on the Six Screens Network, earning the reputation of giving all the right ingredients, uninhibited, and exposing the hardcore facts about the Watchtower Society. And now, the end is near.
Stay with us, folks. JW World News will be up here just in 1 minute. Just give it a second. Just getting things together here, and we will be up and running. Looking so forward to our program tonight. Stay in here with us. I know you're going to enjoy it. Well, here we go. Another rockin' awesome Saturday night here on the Six Screens. Hey, Saturday is Six Screens night. We have been doing it now for 16 years. We have never missed a Saturday night. We are here because you are here. We're glad to let you know what's going on behind the curtains of the Watchtower. And boy, do we have some good stories tonight. So by all means, stay with us. You know, I know that you are listening in, maybe for the first time. Please stay with us. Hello, everyone, and welcome in. My name is Rick Farron. I'm coming to you from the apostate capital of the world up here in Boston, Massachusetts. And yes, we do. We have a lot of apostates up here. And as I say, every week, they're coming to a place where you are too. Man, the Watchtower is hemorrhaging, and I am so glad you're on with us tonight. We've been counting down the last days of the Watchtower, like I say, for 16 years. And I have to tell you, we are making progress. And I'm not just looking through rose-colored glasses. I'm not trying to just make things up, embellish, and overdo it here. I'm telling you guys the truth. I am excited. I am super excited. And you guys have reason to be super excited, too. You know what that means? As we see the Watchtower tanking and collapsing, that means it's only a matter of time, and our Jehovah's Witness relatives and friends, they're going to be talking to us. Things are happening. I don't know if you're noticing it. I don't know what site you get on. There's a bunch of apostates. I give them all credit for doing YouTube videos and forums that they post on. And even when you guys call in to the Six Screens, that makes such a tremendous difference when you guys can call into the Six Screens and make your comments, and people are listening in and they're going, wow, I can't believe it. Well, anyways, I want to tell you, the end of the Watchtower is near. I'm saying that with full confidence. The gig is up. It's over. Stick a fork in the Watchtower, take them off the grill. The doomsday cult, as we have known it, is now dying. They are hemorrhaging big time. The young ones. Wow, all of these internet savvy young ones. They've had enough. And you know what I'm thinking? I'm thinking where Watchtower really made the mistake is having all of their members get on iPads. This could really be the death nail of the Jehovah's Witness. That cost them dearly. The combination of stupidity and unchristian doctrines will no doubt hasten their demise. They're in free fall. You've heard me say it before. The monkey died. The circus is over for the Watchtower. In addition to all of this, there is such a mighty crowd. I'm going to call it a mighty crowd of ex-Jehovah's Witnesses that are all super determined to tell the truth about the cult. My goodness, so many people are speaking up, and this is amazing to me. Plus, I'm going to tell you another thing that's bothering so many Jehovah's Witnesses who are active, card-carrying members. They are puzzled, as well as we are puzzled, on why they're not going back to meetings, why they're not going back to the Kingdom Hall again. They're puzzled with this. The topic of online meetings must be on the mind of most Jehovah's Witnesses. Like I told you a few weeks back, I had a Jehovah's Witness call me, and she's very puzzled. She doesn't know if they're going back or not, and they're not getting any direct answers from the Watchtower. The Watchtower is confusing them, and I'm going to tell you right now, I would be willing to say that right now the Watchtower is getting more letters than they ever got in their history. I'm sure headquarters is receiving tons of letters on when are we going to return to the kingdom halls. Think about it. Think about this seriously. I'm sure the governing body, they're trying to make a decision on what to do. But, you would think, I'm just thinking, I knew a man once who was a really loyal witness, and he used to always say to me, Brother Farron, the organization is so organized. Well, they're not organized here. They are the most disorganized in going back to meetings. Churches, religious groups around the world are meeting in their churches, their mosques, their temples. Jehovah's Witnesses, they're not going back to the Kingdom Hall. So, the Watchtower here is discombobulated. They're not organized at all. And they should really tell their publishers what's going on. It's been almost 2 years since they've been meeting in Kingdom Hall. Friend, Jehovah's Witnesses, it's safe to say they are growing impatient. Wouldn't you, if you were still a witness, or if you're listening in here and you are an active witness, I'm sure you're very impatient. Well, another thing I'm thinking, they're going to keep delaying this as long as they can. This feeds right into their model, doesn't it, folks? This is really something that's giving the Watchtower an added boost. Now, I'm going to tell you what I'm thinking. I'm just thinking out loud. Don't take it to the bank and cash it. All right? We tried to bring things up on the 6 screens. You don't hear other places, but some of these things I don't know for sure. So because the Watchtower is very private, they're not going to give us information to share. So anyways, when I'm thinking, and right now there's a lot of people that are not vaccinated, and maybe you're not, and I'm not, and I don't really care if you are or not. I'm not going to say one way or the other. You have to make that decision. But there's many Jehovah's Witnesses that did not get vaccinated, and now they're going to use this. I'm telling you, I can see it coming a mile away. They're going to use this as another excuse and not going back to the meetings so they can continue to sell all these kingdom halls off. But they're going to use this as an excuse. Well, we can't meet in the kingdom halls with all the people in person because they're not vaccinated. So I'm thinking they'll probably meet in some of these, what I would say, super kingdom halls. We'll keep one without selling it off, have a bunch of the witnesses from 4 or 5 closed down, sold off congregations, go to that super kingdom hall, and there might be 25, 30 people there. These would be vaccinated ones, but they'll come out with an excuse. Oh, we have hundreds listening in, but they can't come because they're not vaccinated. They will lie through their teeth. I can see this coming. They're going to keep holding off. They're going to hold the witnesses at bay as they sell all their property off. You guys, I know you have a good memory. I've been out now for about 15 years, and I'm so glad Satan kicked me out of his organization. But I'm going to tell you something. Even when I was a witness, every time the circuit overseer came, what was his major concern? He wanted high optimal attendance, right? He wanted those congregations rocking like crazy. He wanted those kingdom halls filled. It has always been a problem for so many kingdom halls to fill the seats. So it's a matter now that the circuit overseers are really hounding the witnesses to get on Zoom and make sure you're on there. But let's just put our imagination caps on. Let's imagine going back to a kingdom hall, if you're a witness, and has a seating capacity of, say, 200. Most congregations in big cities in the United States, well, they average around 130 publishers. Now, that's what most congregations would have. So this would be pre-COVID-19 congregation. They were averaging a big city about 130 publishers. That's never going to happen. They're not going to get those 130 publishers back because you can even tell by watching their Zoom meetings. Only 60% of the people come on camera. The rest are not on camera and they're just walking around doing their housework, paying no attention at all. I do not see the attendance, if the witnesses do go back to the kingdom halls, I do not see the congregation meeting attendance ever improving. Really, think about it. And they started, there's a lot of things. I mean, I could grasp a hold of all kinds of stuff here, but I'm just trying to come up with some reasons that the teachings have changed. The internet's the great equalizer. But another thing that I've come across here doing my research is one thing that caused an awful lot of Jehovah's Witnesses to leave the organization is the generation that would not die. Boy, that is the gift that just keeps on giving. I have counted 16 times since the early 1900s, late 1800s. I have counted 16 times that they have changed the generation and they rehash it. Now, in 1995, I started noticing more and more people exiting the Kingdom Hall. This is when a lot of people started throwing the towel in. And of course, that's when they came out with the generation teaching. Well, do you remember that? It never really made sense, but it was a convoluted, overlapping, baloney explained generation. Well, what they did in 1995, without going and getting you guys all messed up here tonight, but in 1995, they changed the generation teaching. And what they did in 1995 is they said that if you were alive and you heard, and you were an anointed person, if you were an anointed person and you heard a talk by an anointed brother that was born prior to 1935, you would be this overlapping generation, and it would be you. You would never die before Armageddon comes, so you would have been the new generation. So, a lot of the witnesses had a hard time with that. They're saying, well, geez, okay. I mean, many went along with it, but around 2012, around 2013, they changed it again, and they came up with another cockamamie screwball explanation. And this explanation, simply put, was that anybody who was alive, almost the same, but at least this time it seemed like they were calling the generation even non-anointed witnesses, from what I gather, that if they were alive and then they listened to someone who was alive, back in 1935 who was anointed, then that was the generation that wouldn't pass away. Well, that's a bunch of baloney. We know it is. But that got a lot of people to leave the so-called truth. Do you guys know about Reddit? I talk about it here. It's an okay place. I get in there. I get a lot of my news in there. But, I'm going to say Reddit. I joined Reddit 10 years ago. There was about 8,000 or 9,000 members, and these are ex-Jehovah's Witnesses. It's the Reddit ex-Jehovah's Witness group. And when I joined it, there was about, from what I can think, about 9,000 or 10,000 members. Today, there's well over 60,000 members. Now, something happened in the last 11 days. In the last 11 days, the Reddit XJW group, they gained 365 members. Yes, this is telling me something. Plus, I'm going to tell you, I manage 8 Facebook groups, from the 6 screens of the Watchtower Facebook group. If you're not a part of that, why don't you join it? The discussion board, well, there's a no-nonsense Jehovah's Witness. That's one of our groups. And I also have Jehovah's Witness United Kingdom. Now, this morning I got up, there was a dozen people that wanted to join the XJW United Kingdom group. I'm saying, what's this all about? Then what I usually do before I allow a person to join, I usually check the person out to make sure that, they're not going to come on and spam everything with advertisements. And most of the people that were joining the ex-United Kingdom group that I manage on Facebook, they were Jehovah's Witnesses. They were Jehovah's Witnesses. They want to come in, and they know it's ex-Jehovah's Witness UK. So they know it's an apostate group, and they wanted to join. That sends a big message. That message speaks volumes. Volumes. And then another thing, too. Another thing I came across, remember back in the 90s and the early 2000s? Oh, the Spanish people. Oh, the Spanish people. They were coming into the Watchtower. They would want to become Jehovah's Witnesses. Spanish congregations are opening up all over the place. Hold on, put the brakes on. Jehovah's chariot now has a flat tire. Friends, we are now learning that many Spanish Jehovah's Witness congregations are now understanding Jehovah's Witnesses are a cult. And I'm going to say this. I came across this this week, and this is totally amazing. In Spanish, of course, we go to English YouTubes. I'm an English-speaking man. I don't speak Spanish, so I have no reason to go to a Spanish group. But some of these ex-Jehovah's Witness Spanish channels and YouTube, they are getting hundreds of thousands of visits. They're getting even millions of visits, thousands of comments, and it's just amazing. They're all saying that's it. They have had enough of Jehovah's Witnesses. Isn't that nice? Isn't that, I mean, is this music to your ears? It's music to my ears. I have to say, there is nothing more satisfying than seeing a fraudulent organization, a lying organization, a deceptive organization in free fall. I'm happy here tonight. I could do the happy dance, and I think you guys should be doing it too. Now, I know you're probably coming in, you've probably only been out for a couple of years, and maybe even just a couple of months or a couple of weeks. But you're saying, Rick, are you right with this? Is it really collapsing? I'm going to go on the record to say, yes, that this is not hyperbole, that this is not, exaggeration. This is a fact. I want you to really, if you haven't checked some of these groups out, get into Reddit. Get on YouTube. Check out some of these apostates that are having YouTube videos. They're doing a great job in there. And all of the apostates are making a big difference. So just don't rely on me. There's other ex-witnesses. Well, they call us the apostates, right? Well, anyways, you're on JW World News. And my name is Rick Farron. And I'm glad to be with all of you tonight. And before we move on to other news stories tonight, if anyone has any thoughts on the Watchtower hemorrhaging, on going back to meetings, well, now would be a good time to come in and say hello to us. If you like, the door is open. So just hit *6 on your telephone pad. And if you're on YouTube and you want to go to description, is down below the YouTube, go to description and you'll see the number to call in on. So if you'd like to call in and talk to us, that's fine too. But if not, we will just continue going on with our news tonight. Well, it's all over the papers. It's all over the papers. You guys might be seeing it. But, in the summertime, the Jehovah's Witnesses, well, they would usually get really good press. The witnesses are meeting for their Powerful by Faith convention. And boy, they're going to bring thousands of dollars into our city from the motels, hotels, and restaurants. Well, not so fast this year. In the Los Angeles Times, I read an article today, and friends, I can only say one thing. I can only tell you that these newspaper articles are paid for by the Watchtower. There's no way they're going to have all of this great, grandiose articles about them without Watchtower paying them. And newspapers will take paid endorsements, it's not even an advertising, a paid editorial, a paid information, narrative, whatever you want to call it. But I'm sure the witnesses are paying for it. But anyways, the headline that I read in the Los Angeles Times this week, Jehovah's Witness hold virtually event in 240 lands, 500 plus languages. Well, I'll give them credit here. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and rant and rave. They've been successful in many areas. I mean, I have to tell you, but they're losing steam. But they hold this virtual convention that they're having this weekend. It started last week, but also this weekend they're doing it as well. So they're holding it in 240 lands. That's a lot of lands, and also 500 languages. I give them credit for that. I mean, that's a major feat to be able to do that. So I'll cut them some slack on that. But you know, something I learned here, and I never heard this before, even when I was a witness. It's saying here that the Jehovah's Witnesses are breaking a century-old tradition in the name of health and safety. And the article says the largest convention organization in the world. Did you know that? Did you know the Jehovah's Witnesses have the Watchtower organization has the largest convention organization in the world? And I have to say yes. And you know, they were always so jealous of Billy Graham. Remember Billy Graham, the Christian preacher? Well, he'd come on and they were jealous of him because he packed stadiums too. But I have to give it to the Watchtower, and I will say this, that I do believe they are the largest, at least were when they were meeting in person, the largest convention organization in the world. But now, according to the paper, they've moved this annual in-person event to a virtual format for the second year in a row, canceling nearly 6,000 conventions in 240 lands. Can you imagine 6,000 conventions? Well, I would have to say they are the largest convention organization in the world. But 24 consecutive years, the Watchtower came to Long Beach, California, and featured Jehovah's Witnesses visiting the city. They were filling, as I say, the hotels, the restaurants. And then when 2020 came and the pandemic hit, it unexpectedly, according to the newspaper, interrupted that tradition. So that put an end to that. And the theme of the convention this year is Powerful by Faith. Now, every year, you know it, I know it, they had different themes. I can remember back in 1969, for example, a Peace on Earth assembly. And then they had another theme. Well, they had them every year. Another theme was dealing with, the Pure Language Convention. Remember that one? Yeah, some of these things stood out in my mind. But Powerful by Faith. And it's going to be delivered virtually over 6 weekends during July and August. How boring is that? Now, even when we went to the conventions before, you would be able to go Friday, Saturday, Sunday, get it over with and go home. Now what they want you to do is they want you to watch a portion or installments of their convention over 6 weeks. Every Saturday morning you watch it a little bit, then the next Saturday morning you watch a little bit more. Over 6 weeks. Man, taking up your summer. That's not fair, is it? To have to stay home every Saturday and listen to that malarkey? Oh, I'll tell you, I got a picture here. But before I bring the picture up, I think Anne-Marie wants to say something. If Anne-Marie's on with us, Anne-Marie, come on if you want.
Oh, I didn't want to interrupt you. I was waiting for you to say, when can we comment?
Yeah, no, in fact, come on, Anne.
They say put strong by faith or whatever by faith, but they don't tell you faith in what? They don't say faith in Jehovah. They don't say faith in Jesus. They don't say faith in the scriptures. They don't even, what they really are pointing to is putting faith in the Watchtower faith. As always, they say what they're saying without actually saying what they're saying. Just like the March 1st, 1979 front page of the Watchtower said, put faith in a victorious organization. Well, break that down. Take out the word victorious. And they're really saying put faith in the organization. It's not put faith in Jehovah or Jesus or the Bible. It's put faith in the Watchtower. You're strong by faith. Faith in what? Faith in your left shoe because it's lucky? What? What are you supposed to put faith in? You're supposed to have your eye on the witness leaders. You're supposed to have your eye on the faith that they teach you is faith. And the only reason you might be having trouble, and I think this is why they have this as a theme, is because they are subliminally addressing that people are losing their faith. You know, we're watching Reddit very closely. They are coming out in free fall, just like you said. There was one lady on Reddit who is a mother of grown children, raised her kids to be Jehovah's Witnesses, and they all left. And she commented, I finally woke up. Thank God my grown children who have left, and I assume she had been shunning them, are there to support her. Thank you, Rick.
Well, there you go, Emery. Good.
Chewy.
Yes, Chewy, go. What do you think, Chewy? What's up?
Well, they had that letter that was, I don't know whether they ever actually made an announcement on it or what, but I called a couple people, and it was just said about that one magazine a year, and boy, the reaction. I said, I heard a rumor this is going to happen, and boy, the reaction was just like, they're already down to 3. There's no way they're going to cut it to 1. There's just no way. How are we going to do the ministry? Both of them. And then the other one said, and both of them were elders for a long time, very indoctrinated. And the second one, I mentioned that too, and they said, oh, well, how are we going to do our ministry? And then when I hung up, I went, I guess they could use the Bible. I mean, that's, like when I went to Pioneer School, they said do that, 2 hours a week. Just pick you a spot and just go down the street and, don't even take any tracts, don't take your book bag with you, just go. And it was actually the most enjoyable time I ever had in the service, was just talking about the Bible, not having any tracts with me or anything. But it was just funny. I was shocked about the reaction of it. I mean, they blew up. I mean, they raised their voice. Like, wow. So if they ever make that announcement, or maybe it's already been made and I just haven't heard about it or whatever, I mean, that is really going to, that apostate talk that's coming up on Saturday afternoon with David Splane. You can tell that dude's pissed off. He's pissed off. He raised his voice on that. He is mad. He's mad at certain parts. You can tell the voice inflection. He's feeling the heat. They're feeling the heat. Anyway, talk to you later.
Oh, yeah. No, thank you, Chewy. We'll be talking about David Splane. I got my own. We're going to play some sound clips from that talk. So we'll be playing that David Splane. Boy, he did tick a lot of witnesses off, and he was angry and mad. We're going to be talking about that tonight. Well, I couldn't find that picture out of the Los Angeles Times. But anyways, it showed a family. A man, there was a husband and a wife and the daughter, and they were all sitting around their kitchen table with a tablet running with the JW Assembly convention on there. Had the convention going, and they loved it. Powerful by faith. And boy, they were just sitting there sucking this all up. And, the reason why, we've been talking about the conventions here for the last 3 weeks, and they're making such a big deal of it in the newspapers, and how the witnesses are such nice people, and how the witnesses, how they love the online convention, and how they think it's just amazing. The Watchtower is allowing them to still go to the convention. And this looks so silly. This picture I had, it showed the father, the mother, the daughter. She's probably about 13 or 14. And it shows her with with the laptop, with the little computer there on the table. And they're all dressed up, and their pretty dresses are for the women. They had their badges on. What a bunch of craziness. They're going nowhere but dressing up in their own home. Can't they just relax? Can't the Watchtower say, just cut it loose, enjoy the convention? But no, they have to be dressed up and make it look like they're actually at the convention. So they have all these Jehovah's Witnesses looking forward to watching the virtual program together. That's what the newspaper's saying. I'm not saying it. But anyways, they are saying that this virtual platform is just wonderful. And then also this guy, I talk about this guy a lot. His name is Robert Hendricks. Boy, he is a Jehovah's Witness official. I think this guy's going to be the next governing body member, or perhaps even a high official, maybe the president of the Watchtower. But he's always, I don't know how he always lands up on the papers from these local cities. somehow he gets in there and kind of gives his 2 cents worth. They use him as a spokesman for Jehovah's Witnesses. And he says, faith has helped our global brotherhood to continue to thrive even during a pandemic. So I guess that's where they get the powerful faith convention. That's where they get the term, I guess. So the spokesman, Robert Hendricks, boy, what a snaky looking character. Boy, do you ever, you don't go around looking at people thinking they're creeps, but this guy, whenever I see him, he scares me. He could play a heavy in one of these, mafia movies. So he's the spokesman for the Jehovah's Witness. And he says, our faith will continue to unite us in worship, even virtually, as millions gather together in private homes around the world to enjoy a powerful and inspiring spiritual program. Don't count me in, Brother Hendricks. I'm not going to that convention, even though I did have to listen to David Splane's talk this week. We'll get you up to date on that in just a little while. So there you have it. I tell you, they're bragging, they're boasting. They think these online conventions are just absolutely God's gift to the Jehovah's Witnesses. Did you guys hear? You've been watching the news like I've been watching the news. Did you hear about the floods in Germany and over there in Europe? Wow, my goodness, you see the destruction. But then I come to find out this week that 7 kingdom halls have been destroyed. 50 houses of Jehovah's Witnesses are now rendered uninhabitable and destroyed. And there's over 100 Jehovah's Witnesses are now homeless. Wow. I'm just thinking, I don't like to, I'm not going to in any way make fun of a disaster. This is a terrible thing, and my heart goes out for anyone, Jehovah's Witnesses included, that lost everything. But I know one thing it will do. It's going to certainly encourage the Watchtower to ask about the disaster relief. In fact, already at some of the meetings I heard, they're already asking. In fact, at a midweek meeting, it was announced this week that if you'd like to donate to the relief work, simply donate to the worldwide work. Now, listen to what they're saying. If you wanted to help the Jehovah's Witnesses and you wanted to help them by, helping the Watchtower be able to help them, but they're not putting it for disaster relief for Europe. It just put the money in the worldwide box without referring to the disaster. They don't want you to say, I want this money to go to the disaster. Are you guys getting this? Doesn't this sound fraudulent? You see the poor people, the houses wrecked by all that water and the cars washing downstream. Don't put on just give it to the worldwide work, but don't refer to this money going for the disaster. So that to me is a little bit ambiguous, right? Why would the Watchtower say this? They want to take the donations, but do not say that you want to send it to the worldwide work. They're going to do not say you want to send it to the disaster in Europe. They're now saying, and now I'm thinking, and other witnesses are thinking now, ex-witnesses, that all of this money that would be donated is going to pay off the multi-million-dollar out-of-court law settlements for child abuse charges. That's what I'm thinking. You're probably thinking it too. Go ahead, you're on with us, Lawrence, Kansas.
Yes, Rick, this is Thomas Hodgson here. I think it's probably just going to be another scam. They've done this kind of stuff before. Hurricane Andrew and what have you. We heard about all the money they took in. They got insurance money and said, oh, by the way, when you get your insurance check, just make it to the Watchtower. And so they underhandedly took away a lot of money that they really didn't help. I mean, they helped, but they made sure that they filled their pockets way more than they should have. And that's not right at all. And I'm afraid that a lot of that money that's going to be donated, that it's not going to go to the cause. I wouldn't trust them for anything in the world. If they could donate to it without do away with that middle person, which is the Watchtower, it wouldn't be so bad if they were assured it was going to help those people. But I couldn't trust them for nothing in the world. There's been too many scandals with them. They're not going to change.
Well, you're right, Thomas. They're not going to change. How they come in is how they go out. They've always been sneaky and sly. But, in fact, I'm thinking, and I did a little research on this, and, I was wondering, is it necessary? They're asking, give the money to the worldwide work. They're supposed to be a charitable organization. Give the money to the worldwide work. Do not put on there, send the money to the disaster relief in Europe. Now, what would happen if a witness or anybody, if I wanted to donate some money to the poor people over there in Europe, to the witnesses, so I wanted to send some money to the Watchtower, and I said, I want this money to go to the witnesses who lost their homes. Well, from what I understand and doing some research on this, what I understand is if that is on the form or the donation you're giving, where you want the money to go, the charitable organization is they're under the pressure, that is, to give it where you want it to go. They just can't take it and do what they want with it. So when you just say, give it to the worldwide work, they can do whatever they want with it. Like I said, they could even pay off child abuse cases. I've had people come on the 6 screens, and there's one woman I remember reading about not too long ago. She was interviewed on YouTube, and she was in Puerto Rico when the hurricane hit there a few years ago. Remember that? And she says she saw so many other churches coming in, and they showed up, and they were giving aid to everybody, including Jehovah's Witnesses. Other churches were going to even Jehovah's Witness homes and saying, can we help you? Can we fix your home up? But where was the Watchtower? She said right on YouTube, they were nowhere to be found. So, you know what I'm thinking here? The brothers in Europe, they are really hurting right now. That was a terrible disaster, but they're going to be on their own. They may get help from some of the brothers and sisters locally, but I'm going to unequivocally assure you, they will never see a dime from the mothership, the Watchtower organization. There you go. Boy, oh boy. But they're talking about deaths, missing people. I'm sure even some with Jehovah's Witnesses. It was a major disaster, including many witnesses, as we say. But I got on jw.org, and you know something? I got on all their different news releases. Nothing was said about the poor brothers losing their homes and everything being displaced. I tell you, I really see the Watchtower. They're not concerned for the lives of people. They're not even concerned for the poor brothers that lost their house. They're not even mentioning the Kingdom Halls were wiped out. Evidently, that must be non-mentionable. We don't even have to mention it. But, I got thinking, a lot of people, they wrote to me asking me about this. And, I'm only going on what I know, but they were asking me, is the Watchtower, are the Kingdom Halls insured? So those 7 or 8 Kingdom Halls that were wiped out over in Europe, are they insured? Well, the answer to that is, from what I understand, and like I say, the Watchtower is very private. They don't have to say everything publicly. But what I found is most Kingdom Halls, in fact, more than likely all of them, are self-insured. If you're a multi-billion-dollar organization, you have enough money. You don't have to buy insurance. I mean, if something happened to Amazon, in fact, I'm sure all of their trucks, they're not insured. Amazon has enough money. They self-insure. So if an Amazon truck gets in an accident, they have to pay out $2 million. That's nothing to Amazon. That saves them billions of dollars in insurance coverage. Well, the same thing with their Watchtower. They have properties all around the world that would cost them millions of dollars, maybe even $1 billion a year to insure all of their properties. So the way they look at it, okay, if one burns down or a couple get wiped out by a flood, well, we'll just have the witnesses come and give their free labor and build it all over again. All we have to do is buy the material. So, they save money by self-insuring. So most of them, from what I understand, are self-insured. So there you go. I mean, but you have to be you got to have some deep pockets to be self-insured, really. Oh, I'll tell you, there's so many things that we talk about here on JW World News. We do it every Saturday night. And it just overwhelms me, folks. It just overwhelms me that we have so many things to talk about. When I first started doing this program, I didn't think it'd be enough to talk about. But we don't even have time to talk about everything I want to talk about. There's so much negative, critical news in the Watchtower. You know it, I know it, the world knows it. The Jehovah's Witness image is tarnished right now. Boy, I'll tell you, even to see a Jehovah's Witness is like, whoa, look at them. They're Jehovah's Witnesses. They're the ones that cover up child abuse. They're the ones that are, shunning their family. They're the ones that are having people dying from refusing blood transfusions. They're the ones that create all kinds of sexual misbehavior. They're onto their game. The game's over for the Watchtower. The court of public opinion is now understanding what's going on behind the curtains of the Watchtower. Well, if you'd like to speak up, now, if you're on YouTube or Facebook, I got a message, an email message this week from a woman. And she said she listens in. She loves listening in to the Six Screens programs. We cover all the bases. She likes that, from theological teachings to satanic ritual abuse. We cover all the bases. And I know sometimes people say, don't talk about that, but we talk about everything. We let everyone who has a story to tell it. But she said she loves listening into these programs because what she loves about it, not me. I'm just the facilitator here. I'm just the moderator here. What they love is they love the people when they call in. When the people call into the program, they just can't get enough of that. When Anne Marie and Constance and Thomas and Dick and Randy and we also have Ken and so many others, when they call into the program, man, it perks them up. They just get so excited. You know what that does? It makes it sound like, man, there are more people that left the Watchtower than we can possibly believe. Hey, you're on with us. Go ahead.
Hey, Rick?
Yes. Steve, how are you?
Good. Thank you. Smurf Girl and Mike and Kim already did a piece on this, but I looked it up too. I don't know if anyone's ever talked about Watchtower Properties. They have a website. Type in Watchtower Properties. They have about 1,000 rental properties, commercial and residential, Airbnbs and everything. And there is a girl by the name of Julie Ann Foley, Foyle. She's the director of their leasing program. If you put her name in YouTube, it takes you to a site called Jove, Jove, app, APP. And this gentleman's website, he has nothing to do with the witnesses, but he talks to different building managers who have large properties, the mechanics of running the business. But on there, she mentions in the interview that they have 1,000 properties. So that's where I get that number from. But if you saw Smurf Girl's video, somebody called Watchtower Properties and asked them if they were associated with Jehovah's Witnesses, and they said yes over the phone. So they're running one hell of a rental business that's raising millions of dollars. You can go to the site and you can see not all the properties, but you see the apartments, Airbnbs, and the commercial buildings that they're renting out, some of them. So I'm sure they have a lot more that they're not going to put on the website. But again, it's Julianne Foley. She's their director, and she's a witness. So if anybody wants to look that up, it's a whole new world of their business. So I don't know how they passed this off as non-tax property. I don't know how they're funneling that or changing that. But they told us, don't get involved in the system, don't invest in real estate and everything else that they told us. They've got quite a rental portfolio, and I'm sure this is just the tip of the iceberg.
You're absolutely right. Thank you, Steve, for checking in with us. Yeah, no, I did see that, and I did check that out. And it's amazing, the properties they own And yet at the same time, they didn't want us, for goodness sakes, going out and having a career. They didn't want us buying life insurance. Well, they didn't even want us they never said not to buy a home, but, they never really encouraged the witnesses. Why don't you go out and try to buy a home? Then they never did a thing to help people who are Jehovah's Witnesses accumulate any wealth at all in the system. They discouraged it. Well, thank you, Steve. That's very, very good. All right, you're on with us, so go ahead. We have got California coming in. Go ahead, California.
Hi, Rick. This is Constance. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you like you're in the next room over here, Constance. Yes.
I'm in a hotel room here, honey, so it's so nice to hear from everybody, even though I'm away from home right now. I just wanted to ask you, Rick, that brother that just called in, there's 1,000 properties that JW owns. Is it in the United States or is that worldwide? I'm just curious.
It's worldwide. Yeah, it's worldwide.
Okay.
But those are just
What was that? Rick, what was that?
She wanted to know if that was just American properties or was it worldwide properties?
That's in Pennsylvania. That's not worldwide.
It's not worldwide? Is that right?
No,
Wow.
It's in Pennsylvania.
Wow, that's new to me. I checked out properties around the world, but that's just in America. My goodness.
Because if you go to their site, it'll tell you that it says Greater Philadelphia area, so it's not worldwide.
So it's just Pennsylvania?
They have just Pennsylvania area. It says Greater Pennsylvania.
Wow. Well,
Wow.
I saw another site and it was world, but geez, I'll tell you what, I mean, they must own more than we think, Steve. Boy, oh boy, thanks for sharing that.
No, that's why I say this is what people don't understand. The Watchtower Bible and Tract Society is the storefront. They have a whole back door that opens up into the world. Corporate investments, everything else. This is what I mean. People don't get it. It's just a tool to make money and to invest and to carry out all their other nonsense. And to that one sister that was talking earlier, that was disfellowship. She was talking about the elder that was extremely rude to her. There's a high probability that very elder was probably doing something extremely inappropriate in that congregation. I've seen it many, many times. The nastier they are, the more trashier they are behind the scenes.
Wow. Well, thank you for sharing that. Yeah.
And like I said, go to Watchtower Properties, read it up, Google the girl's name. She's the director, Julianne Foley. And if you do a little bit of research, you'll find out. You'll see it.
Wow. Well, that's a good find.
May I ask a question? May I ask a question on that, Rick, if that's okay?
Of course. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so Steve, you pronunciate it Foley, but it's F-O-Y-L-E. Is that how you spell her last name?
F-O-Y-L-E. Okay. First name Julie, okay. Middle name Ann. And her picture is up. And it's not up on the website, but if you Google her name, you'll see her name, and it says on her LinkedIn page, it says Director of Leasing at Watchtower Properties, Greater Philadelphia.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for that information. I think a lot of us were totally unaware of any of this, Mm-hmm.
Oh, please look it up. It's 1,000 rental properties. Just approximately take residential properties and times it by maybe a minimum of $1,500 a month per property, and you see the number come out. That's per month. Mm-hmm. And that's only what we know about at this point.
So I wonder how one can find out the other properties that are in the United States or the ones that are, overseas. Do you have any idea how to research that?
Well, the United States, if somebody wants to take the time and look, generally owning property is public knowledge. They may have it in a different corporation or trust, but it should all come back to them. Other countries, I don't know. I'm not sure how they list their private properties, but it's at least something that people can be aware of and look for. And somebody might just come across something and spend the time,
All right. Well, thank you. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
And hide it in their own attorney's names, private names, because when they paid me my settlement, it came from the attorney, and that my mind was only so it wouldn't ever tie back to Watchtower.
So, Randy, I mean, you're calling in there from Oklahoma. Do you know of any properties that are owned by, other than Kingdom Halls, properties owned out there by rental homes or anything by the Witnesses?
Well, I remember in West Texas, when I was doing research for my litigation, I came across one that was signed over to somebody I knew, and it was signed over by the president of the Watchtower. And so I seen him in the restaurant, and I said, well, I said, did you move? He says, oh, no, I bought that for my daughter. How did you know about it? I said, well, it's public records. He acted like, he actually told me I was snooping. I said, no, that's public records. I just thought it would be an honor to meet somebody that had a warranty deed signed by the Watchtower. This man that he got it from, he used to go visit him. I went with him in the nursing home before he died. And I had no idea that he was, no doubt, was just interested in getting his property. And I had no idea how it ended up not going up on public sale, but just being sold to another member there. It just kind of looked shady to me. But I got to mention something that I learned this morning, Rick, that somebody might find it interesting. You know, I've been fascinated that they don't seem to be interested in converting anybody new. They don't. How they're so top secretive with giving out their Zoom meeting secret code numbers and all that. Some Kingdom Halls I'll go to. I went to one a couple of months back, and I was surprised because most of the time I go up to a Kingdom Hall and look, and they'll have a number to call so that you can get that secret code. And then, of course, they will interrogate you and quiz you to make sure that you're going to come in and be an easy convert. They don't want to just have somebody that might come in that might be an ex-JW. They don't, or anybody new. That in my mind, it's like they feel Jehovah's already shut the door, like shutting the door on Noah's Ark. But I saw one a couple of months ago, Rick, that didn't even have a phone number. All it had was a note on the door that said, "We're doing meetings by Zoom. Call one of the elders." And it didn't list any elders' names. It did not list any elders' phone numbers. It's like, what if somebody new was coming through there and moved to town? How are they going to even find out? It's like they don't want anybody. Well, today I went to a fly-in up at Cushing, Oklahoma, at the airport. And while I was in town, I thought, I'm going to go by the Kingdom Hall. I went 1976 to the dedication of that Kingdom Hall. I'm going to go by and see what it's like there. And to my surprise, there was no note on the door. They still had their meeting attendance like regular, such and such night for the ministry school and such night for our day or Sunday for the public talk. And I know they're not having public meetings because I know somebody that goes there. They tell me it's still Zoom like it is everywhere else. So they didn't even have a note on the door. I thought, wow, how are they going to get anybody? They're not interested in getting anybody new in. And sometimes I pass on the way there. I pass by another Kingdom Hall, and I've seen this before. People, they're still out maintaining this. And I asked my wife, well, how do those people feel? They're maintaining this hall. They're paying for it still, and then they're working on it, but yet they're not able to get to use it. And how are they going to feel when it's sold out from under them? But here's the whole thing. They wear orange outfits. I guess so visibility, so somebody don't run over somebody else. I don't know, but they all had orange outfits on. And my daughter Miranda, you know what she told me? She said, "Well, that's kind of what prisoners wear, isn't it?" I thought, yeah, I guess they are prisoners there working on their property.
Hi, Randy. This is Apostle Babe Linda James. Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Hi, Randy. So that Kingdom Hall that you went to that does not have a sign on it, have you checked on Google Maps to see what is said on Google Maps?
No, I haven't looked on Google Maps, but I know somebody that goes there, and he tells me they're still doing it on Zoom. They're doing their meetings on Zoom.
Okay.
I got to tell you, that Kingdom Hall there, when I went to the dedication, I still got the original invitation to the dedication. They had a speaker from Bethel come, and I don't remember his name. He's, for all I know, his friends. I don't know. I remember he talked for like 2 hours without any notes in front of him. Yeah, and here's the thing. The first thing he said was, "I want everybody to turn off your tape recorders. We don't want this recorded." And I never heard that before. I had no tape recorder on me anyway. I mean, I was just a teenager, But here's what they did. They started holding up newspapers from all around the world, and all these headlines were on it. Best news all year. The world didn't come to the end last year in 1975 like Jehovah's Witnesses predicted. They're telling,
wow.
The reason why. We're accurate about 6,000 years from Adam's existence, but we don't know how long it took that he waited to make Eve, create Eve. If we knew that, then we would know, but we don't know. It doesn't tell it in the Bible, That's kind of his explanation on that. But here's something else at that same dedication. They talked about this earlier Kingdom Hall when they had there, I guess, back in the 1940s, when they first had one there, and had American Legionnaires and other protesters that would come and protest or didn't like the Jehovah's Witnesses being there. The Jehovah's Witnesses would take, the sisters would take pop bottles or cold cream and fill their book bags or their purses with it. And when those people coming up that didn't like it, they would hit them over the head and knock them out. And they said some of those American Legionnaires had to get up to get a second dose of it. And then they just all I remember everybody in the auditorium laughing. I mean, hear that? A violent act that they're supposed to be pacifists, and they're knocking people out. The street, laying them out. They said there was people laying cold all over the streets there in Cushing. I thought, wow,
that sounds like unrealistic for how they've taught us all along.
It's constantly.
Don't you think?
Yes, it was crazy back then, but it's just even crazier now.
I mean, I'm enjoying the thought of them standing up for themselves for once, instead of having to stand there and take a beating or stand there and be tarred and feathered. That makes me very happy, but that's out of character for how they seem to have taught us, right? It's just so weird. But yeah, if you ever get a chance to check on Google Maps, some of them that are already closed will say closed in red letters. So if it's been sold.
Their attitude too, Linda, how they would go up to somebody selling their Bibles, and the people would say, "Oh, I got a Bible," and they say, "Well, yeah, but your neighbor next door might have a piano. That don't mean he knows how to play it." Or the next house they go to.
What? That's cute.
Do you know when you die, you're going straight to hell? I mean, you say that.
Oh, it was pretty bold back in the day. Pretty bold. Like when that whole situation went down with the kids not saluting the flag, that did turn out to be a good event in the end as far as religious freedom and rights, human rights, to not have to salute the flag eventually. But right about that time, there was pictures in the paper of the students that did not salute the flag standing there with their parents, and it would say something to the effect of really bold, we're not going to worship the devil, or something to that effect. I mean, just stuff you would not say out loud, but it's right there in the paper, Yeah, it's just bizarre.
The kid that Supreme Court his name was Wally Gobitis. It was a Gobitis case. He was our circuit overseer, and my wife never
really.
Yeah, he was at our house one time, and he dragged he pulled his wife over and set her down in his lap in the chair he was sitting in. And then he was shocked to see that, but that was his. And he'd go over and visit other people. He'd stay with other people, like he stayed with another brother, Pope Joyce, and it kind of made Pope Joyce kind of mad, because when he'd take the remote, he'd run through the channels with the remote, not staying on any channel.
Oh my God! Oh yeah, that deserves a talking to. there's an unspoken rule that the person with the remote has the power in the household. Somebody needs to tell them.
Well, there we go. Well, all good stuff. Boy, you guys are talking about some really good stuff. Randy, I never heard some of those things you're talking about. My goodness, you're informing people of something that goes the extra mile here on Six Screens. Thank you, Randy. Thank you, Apostle Babe. All right.
Oh, you're welcome.
Well, we've got others coming in right now. If you want to come in before we go to the next story, go ahead. You're on with us. Go ahead.
Hey, Rick, it's Mark. How you doing?
Hey,
I'm
Mark.
here. It's
Mark.
How are you?
Mark, I'm doing good. I'm doing very good. Thank you.
Good to hear. Always good to hear. Well, that was a great speech by Randy. I really liked it. He did a totally awesome job, and congratulations to him. I give him 500 stars and 2 thumbs up. He did really good. Good job, buddy.
Well, didn't he? Randy's a really good guy, Mark. A really good guy. Well, I'm glad you called in, and check in later on tonight and come in, and we want to hear your positive statements. Okay?
Okay, yeah, absolutely. What's your situation right now?
Well, the situation right now is we're so far behind, Mark. Like I told you today, we so far behind. I don't think I'm even gonna get all the news stories out. But the best time to come in is right at the end of Angela and Dan's program, Heart to Heart, tonight. There's 2 places. You could have came in earlier. You could have came in early, like I mentioned today. You could have had all the time in the world. Just get in there early. Get into the first program, Scandals in the Watchtower, and you'll be able to speak up. That's when the lines are open. You can speak about whatever you want, or the same thing tonight on Apostle Babe's program, Healing After the Watchtower. Okay?
Okay, that's fine. But I agree. You got to get on much earlier, no doubt about it. So
Yeah.
I have to aim for that in the future.
You'll aim for that for the future.
So, and I'll do that, and maybe I'll get on tonight. Hopefully tonight, later on with Linda James. Sometime after 10 o'clock my time.
Yeah. Good. Thank you. All right. That's Mark Taff. He's coming in from Chicago. Yep. Coming in from Chicago. Yes. Go ahead.
If you're sent door to door as a Jehovah's Witness, and you're denying Jesus and the cross and the blood and the Holy Spirit and the Godhead, what does that mean for you in terms of spiritual attack from the other side? So when these people leave the organization, they're leaving vulnerable. They don't really seek like a deliverance ministry. It's like leaving a Freemason lodge. You have to renounce the oaths. So Jehovah's Witnesses are out of Freemasonry. And they need to realize that they need to renounce a lot of the Watchtower, the International Bible Students. They have to renounce a lot of that openly in the name of Christ to get those I don't know how to say it, a curse or a weight of evil on you if you partake in these things. And I just pray that these people seek out those things and don't become apathetic and walk away from the scriptures. There's like Bob Larson on YouTube. There's plenty of deliverance ministers out there that can really get these people back on their feet spiritually,
Well, that's what we're hoping for. That's what we're hoping for, is the witnesses just don't get out and just run away from God. Hey, thank you. Thank you, New Jersey, for coming in and being with us tonight. Thank you very much. Okay, you're on with us. We can take.
Yeah, Mr. Farron.
Yes, sir, Ken.
Yeah, I've been listening here with interest and everything like that, and I want to call to your attention this property issue here of the Watchtower Society. I mean, that's just the tip of the iceberg. They've got so much property that we don't even know about it. I mean, it's for many years. We didn't, for many years, like I brought out on the other program, they were predicting the end of the world in 75, and they were buying property up right and left all over the country like nobody's business. So I just hope that some research comes out and everything like that, and we hope we find out what their net worth is and what their assets are and their property, because it's sure outrageous that they made themselves into a commercial racket. They used to criticize other churches before for being greedy commercialists. Now look who's talking.
Well, there you go, Ken. You're absolutely right. I mean, those guys, they certainly know how to dish it out. But boy, when it all comes back to them, and boy, people are finding out what's going on behind the Watchtower. Well, thank you, Ken. Yeah, I just want to make mention too, Ken mentioned that he listened into other programs. And I wanted to say that some people might not know what the Six Screens Telenetwork is. Well, we started that a number of years ago, and we have currently 17 different programs on the Six Screens Telenetwork. And what this is for the most part, these are ex-Jehovah's Witnesses that have their own program. We have, like, for example, Touched by the Tentacles of the Watchtower with Anne Marie out of California. She comes on at 5:45 every other Saturday. Then Dick Borgie was on today with his Watchtower Scandals program, 5:45. And after this program, we go to Heart with Dan and Angela Clark. And they are former witnesses, at least Dan is, and Angela is also in a cult, a worldwide Church of God. But the point is, I want you guys to know it's more than just JW World News. This is the only one we do on Facebook and the only one we do on YouTube. But if you guys want to, like after this newscast, our program runs all night long. You can listen in to witnesses talking from all over the world. But what you have to do, because YouTube goes off and Facebook goes off after this newscast. So what you want to do, go to sixscreensofthewatchtower.com and scroll down, and you'll see a telephone number. And also, if you want to listen in on our video suite, you can listen in from anywhere in the world, and you can see me here in studio, and you'll be able to do that and listen in with no problem at all. No one's going to hunt you down. There's no URL addresses given out or anything like that. You can put a fictitious name in. So that's a good, safe place to listen to the Six Screens. And I can just dial in on the telephone. You can see the number right there when you get on sixscreensofthewatchtower.com. And then a lot of people have been writing me too and wondering, how can I listen to some of the older programs? Well, the older programs are put up on SoundCloud, and they're put up on Rick Ferron, Fearon, SoundCloud. And you can listen to all these programs. There's hundreds of them in there. So if you like to listen to some of the past programs, they're in there. By all means, take advantage of that. Okay, I think we got another caller coming in. I think we're all set, I guess. Okay, so let's move on here. I tell you, I don't know if you guys, Cedars, Lloyd Evans, he's got a couple of names, but he goes by Lloyd now. Well, Lloyd Evans, he was doing a summary of David Splane, the convention talk. I got some excerpts from that I want to play. I listened to the whole Splane talk. I don't know if you guys have listened to it or not, but I'm going to give you my little rundown. I listened to David Splane. He's a governing body member. I'm just going to mute. Ken, just mute yourself if you would, Ken. And that way there we won't get that background noise. All right, just hit *6, Ken. I believe you're still on there. All right, good. So let's do this. I'm going to play now. I reviewed the whole David Splane talk. It's a convention talk. The witnesses evidently heard it today. I believe it was this afternoon. They heard this talk. And it's all about apostasy. It's about a 45-minute talk dealing with apostasy and how the witnesses have got to stay away from apostates. But I'm seeing some very... Well, let me put it this way to you. Statements being made by Splane that I'm very curious about. It's very, very controversial, some of the things he's saying. He really seems like a cornered animal. He really does. He seems to really be stern, somewhat angry. I'm going to play excerpts from this talk. I really, man, I spent a good part of today going through this and dissecting it. Certain parts I want you to hear. This is absolutely, friends, I'm just going to tell you, I want you to be listening to this. It just starts out, I'll give you an idea, and then we'll play some clips, but it starts out by him coming on and kind of suggesting that a lot of people are evidently turning to YouTube and turning to the internet sites and forums where they're getting information about apostasy. And he's saying these people are lying. These people are not telling you the truth. It's poison. But he continues to up the ante as he goes along in the 40-minute talk. And then also what Splane talks about is, it seems like, to me, and I could be reading it wrong, but it seems like the governing body is really, perhaps in the future, going to be brought up criminally. Really, they're named right now in a number of suits. He doesn't say that, but what I see is they are really getting nervous. But what he was saying, he was kind of getting the witnesses acclimated to the fact that you may hear Jehovah's Witnesses in the news a lot lately, but he says, don't believe the news. Don't believe the news because, they make up stories. And then he was even saying the court systems. This is what really put my antenna up. He says the court systems in the United States, he says, sometimes they don't make decisions truthfully. They make them on prejudice. And he kind of suggested that they pick on the witnesses and they could make a rendering and accuse a witness of being guilty when they're really not, using the example of Jesus, right? Being accused of being the king of the Jews when he really wasn't, according to the Romans, and according to the Jewish nation then. So, but he's using these examples, but he looks like a scared rabbit. He looks like he's trying to get a message across and do it without really explaining everything he should be explaining. So let's get in. I want to dissect this. I want to get your thoughts on it. I really believe you're going to find this very, very fascinating. So this is a governing body man. His name is David Splane. Let's get in. Let's take a look at it. Let me just get it pumped up here so you guys will be able to hear it. Everyone's going to be able to hear it, hopefully nice and loud and clear. So let's go in here. I'm going to go to 5 minutes in, and that's where Splane. Let's just do this. Well, they play commercials here too, which really drives you nuts. I wish Cedars wouldn't do that, but it was a leaked video. So let's do this right here. Let's get Splane in. Listen to what he has to say. Let's listen.
Slipped in among you who were long ago appointed to this judgment by the scriptures. So Jude is talking about false brothers who are presenting a real danger to the congregations, in some ways a greater danger than outright persecution. And did you notice what Jude said about those false brothers? They had slipped in. They were sneaky.
Sneaky.
Well, that was true back then, and it's true today, as we'll see. And brothers, this is a very serious matter that we're considering today. Think of this. Was the Christian congregation brought down by persecution in the 2nd and 3rd centuries? It wasn't. It was brought down by false brothers, apostate teachings. And so the devil can use an outright attack. He can use persecution to try to batter the structure of the Christian congregation, but sometimes he uses rot from within, a subtle means to attack us. But whatever method he uses, we have to fight. Our faith is involved, and our faith is worth fighting for.
Well, there you go. I mean, so you're hearing that. So he starts to talk out, and he's saying that, false brothers. Well, they would be apostates. And he's saying we got to be, boy, he seems angry. If you could see his face, he's so angry looking. But my goodness, he goes on. And we're going to dissect this a little bit. And I don't know if you heard it or not, but it was leaked online. And people were getting in and they were listening to that talk even before it came out. But I'm going to move up a little bit here. I really found this is really, the Watchtower is really concerned with people who are false brothers. And so many witnesses evidently are listening to these false brothers, apostates, if you would. But let's go on here and let's just talk about a couple of things here that I found very fascinating. Let me just get to the point that we have to get to. So this should be right about here, just trying to get it here. Let's listen into what he has to say here. And I want you to see how he is saying that some people say they're strong. Some witnesses say they're very strong and they wouldn't be affected if an apostate came to them and talked to them. Well, listen to what he has to say. I know that you'll get the same feeling I do. Listen in.
That's like a weightlifter, thinking that he can drink a vial of poison and it won't hurt him because he's so big and strong. We are not so strong, so spiritual, so intelligent that we can't be affected by the poison of apostate ideas.
this was interesting for me.
Well, there you go. So you can't. He's calling it poison. He's calling it poison. And don't think you're so strong. He uses the analogy here, illustration of a weightlifter. And don't think you're so strong because you could be overwhelmed by these apostates. He goes on and on and on. Let's move up a little bit. I'm going to come up here to about 28. Give me a second here and get to that. 28:30. All right, let's listen in here, see what he has to say.
To read something that the apostates have written. Consider this scenario. The unbelieving husband of your Bible student sends his wife a link to an apostate webpage and says, "Here, you better look at this and see what you're getting into." Well, your student is concerned. She wants you to take a look and tell her what you think. Well, that's not an option. Paul says, avoid them. That doesn't mean reading apostate literature or searching social media to see what they're saying about us. So what do you say to your student? You might say something like this. I can imagine that this is very upsetting for you. And you certainly do need to know what you're getting into. I have a suggestion. We have nothing to hide. When you're at the meetings, listen carefully to what the brothers are saying. Watch how we interact with one another. Take note of how the organization is financed. Get to know the elders, their wives. Introduce yourself to the circuit overseer and his wife when they come. Visit world headquarters of the branch. I'll come with you. I'll help you. And I want you to get really acquainted with the organization. And if you do, I'm sure you'll soon realize that what the people are saying about us isn't true.
Well, there you go. That's Splane governing body. Now, what he said here, and I've often thought about this, with the internet today, with all the apostates, so to speak, on YouTube and Facebook. So what you have here, he uses the example of a woman that's just starting to study and learn about the Jehovah's Witnesses. So her husband evidently hears that she's doing this, so he just figured he'd email her some links and things to sites. He says, if you check this out, and of course it speaks all about the problems the Watchtower is encountering right now with all the various issues, child molestation, shunning. So they know this is a real issue. The Watchtower knows that many, many people who are studying are finding out, even before they get baptized, how evil, how fraudulent the Watchtower is. So he's coming out, like I say, this is a 40-minute talk. I'm taking excerpts out of it. And he's just trying to rant and rave about, don't get near this poison. Stay away from this poison. And even though it sounds good, it's not true. And then he ups the ante. Let's see what else goes on. Well, he mentions that there are apostates. Let me move the clock up here a little bit, the slider. We're going to go up to 49. Let me get up there. But he talks about here something that I found very, very interesting. He says in some areas of the country, there are more apostates than others. Well, maybe he's talking about the apostate capital of the world up here in Boston, right? I don't know. But he says that there are more. So let's listen and see what he has to say here about more apostates in some of these active areas of America. But let's see what he says. Listen in.
Apostates are more active in some places than they are in others.
I'm Richard Branson, and I have a once-in-a-lifetime invitation.
Well, what they do is they play videos.
So if there's a lot of apostate activity in your area, people in the territory may be listening, and they may challenge you when you meet them in the ministry. So how should you handle it? Don't try to argue with the apostates. Don't read their comments. Ask the elders or other experienced publishers for suggestions on how to answer the householders. Well, how poisonous are apostate teachings? Let's find out as we watch the following video.
Yes.
All right, let's stop right there. So anyways, I mean, you get the gist of this whole talk. This was a talk they played at the convention today, the Powerful by Faith Convention. So the witnesses are listening to this governing body member, Splane. Geez, he rants and raves about don't listen to apostates. They have nothing but poison. Some parts of the country are more active than others. I mean, they are acknowledging The Watchtower must be hemorrhaging. People must be listening in all over the place for even have a talk like this. I mean, I've heard convention talks before where, you know, the brother would get up, he'd give a talk, but never for this long or this strenuous. I mean, he's got a passion here to really get the message out. Stay away from apostates. Boy, I'll tell you, this is disgusting to me. What it's doing for anyone that's still active in the Jehovah's Witness religion, it's really, really making them feel so afraid to be involved in anything that might be apostasy. So unreal. So let's see what else we got going on here. Let's go up to 54. I want you to hear it. I'm going to open the lines. We're going to comment on this. We're going to move up to 54 here. I'm just trying to slide things up so you can hear it. So let's take a look here. Let's see what he has to say. And 50, let me just get it up here. Kind of hard to slide this thing forward sometimes. But anyways, let me just talk about this video for a second. We're not going to play the video. We're not going to play the video, but he was saying that they played a video at the convention. In the video, first of all, it was a woman. I'd say she was in her 60s. And she said that she got some apostate literature through an email. Someone sent her an email to links to certain apostate sites. And so she read some of this and she believed it. And she was a witness, and she was working 3 jobs and trying to get to the meeting. I mean, how successful was she being a witness? So she got away from the witnesses for a while, but it bothered her so much. It bothered her conscience so much. And it showed in the video that she drove by the Kingdom Hall, rolled the windows down, practically in tears, and she was thinking about Armageddon was going to come, and she wouldn't be saved, and she better get back to the meetings. So she went back, and then they had other little stories in there about people that saw saw apostate literature, and then left, and then came back again. So they really try to pull that baloney on you. I mean, I don't know if it was true or not, but they really said, oh, people come back after they see how bad the apostates are and all of the lies they tell. Let's move on here. Let me just scroll this back a tiny bit. And let's do this right here. I want you to hear this. Let's listen in. Hold on one second. Let me just move this up. 5416. 5416. Let's go right about here.
The coffee.
Well, let's move it up a little bit more here so you can hear exactly what's. Well, that's 56. Boy, it's so hard because it's moving this thing around. But just give me a second. I want you to hear it. You'll find it very fascinating.
I had drifted away from the congregation. I had an acquaintance who was telling me that I was in a cult and that I needed to look at some information that he had.
When I was about 30 years old, a fellow...
That's part of the video. I wanted you to see some of that. Listen to it at least. So these are people saying that they got into listening to some of this broadcasting. Some of this apostate stuff, and it really, really... Scroll up here a little bit, and let's hear what they have to say. And this is coming on here next. Okay, just a little bit, 1304. Just 11356. All right. Well, let's try this. Just try this right here.
It's the media at this point, so let's let him continue.
Remember this. Reporters have a deadline to meet, and a reporter may not have the time or the inclination to check the facts. Or the reporter...
Well, he's speaking about newspaper reporters and how they've been reporting in the newspaper lately how, the witnesses are covering up child molestation and a lot of the problems the witnesses are having. But he's saying that the reporters don't have the facts. They're covering up the truth.
May have written a balanced article, but then the editor changes it. Maybe the editor doesn't like Jehovah's Witnesses, or he's been misinformed about us. Now, it's bad enough if people in the world believe everything they read in the newspaper. But brothers, let's not be among them. Let's not be naive. Let's consider things carefully. Similarly,
Well, there you go. So the reporters are, they're not giving the facts. Let's consider stuff carefully. They know darn well that the Jehovah's Witnesses are hearing this stuff reading it in the newspaper, hearing it on the news. Can you imagine this guy can get up there with a straight face? I can tell he's angry, but he can get up there with a straight face and tell lies like this and really derail the witness thinking, oh, you're hearing all lies, but they've been doing that for years, Well, let's move on here. It gets worse. I want you to hear some of the other stuff this guy says. It's crazy. And then I'm even thinking at some point here, he is scared. He's a scared rabbit. I think he believes that it's only a matter of time and the governing body is going to somehow be indicted or brought up in the news.
Hello, Rick.
Yes.
Hello.
Yes.
Hi.
Hi.
This is Betty. I talked to you 2 weeks ago. I called in.
Oh, yes, you did, Betty. Yes.
Yes. I'm sorry if I interrupted your line of thought. I just wanted to say that the Lloyd Evans review of the Splane rant is excellent. And they really do examine every point. And it does seem obvious that the governing body is panicking. And that I would like to count how many times Splane said the word poison. How many times did he say it? It was becoming a joke.
Well, it was too much. Too much.
Yes. Basically, they're saying, don't look at the man behind the curtain. I think you have to be have low intelligence not to be able to see through this, what they're doing with trying to discount all the bad publicity. But if I could just make a couple of comments about back to the topic of properties.
Yes.
I got this information at which I cannot verify. It was from one of the YouTubers, XJWs. And what they said was they had the experience of a family member had willed a house because someone had passed away, a witness passed away. And as many witnesses do, they will the property, the house, to Watchtower. And what he reported was that Watchtower contacted the executor and asked the executor to give up their commission and give it to Watchtower so they would get the full value of the house. Are you aware that an executor has the right to, I think it's between 5 to 8% of the value of the estate for all the work that they do? Are you aware of that?
Yes.
Okay. So I think that's quite nasty penny pinching to do that. And the other point I wanted to make regarding property was that a lot of the kingdom halls that are being sold are being turned into religious meetings for other religions, which goes against Watchtower, propaganda. Like they turn them into, Islam place of worship or a Catholic place of worship. And we're talking about kingdom halls that were dedicated to the worship of Jehovah. So the irony and the hypocrisy is just blatant. Anyway, those were just the points I wanted to make. Lloyd Evans' review on Splane.
Well, those are good points. Well, let me get your thought, because no doubt I got some information from that as well, and he did do a good job. Now, let me ask you this. It appeared to me that he was getting the Jehovah's Witnesses acclimated to the fact that they're going to hear charges against witnesses, perhaps even the governing body, that, it's going to be unfounded. It's going to be false accusations. It seems to me that's the crescendo that he was trying to build up to, Betty. Did that same thought?
You know what that's called, Rick? I'll tell you what that is called.
Yeah.
It's called spin. Spin.
Yeah.
You take anything bad and you spin it around and make it look good.
Well, no doubt we can put a spin on that one, but that's the thought I got. And one thing I want to, that's the thought I got, that they see something coming down the pike that's going to put them in front of the news, and it's going to be embarrassing. But don't believe the news, because these guys are not telling the truth.
It's all becoming so ridiculous. Anyway, all the Jehovah's Witnesses that are listening to this, congratulations. But please turn to your Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, because Jesus is coming. And even though Watchtower cried wolf so many times, one day Jesus will return. So please don't lose your faith.
Well,
Thank
amen,
you, Rick.
amen to that, Betty. Amen. I mean, I'm your brother, so good for you. Keep waving that flag of victory. Yeah, no, that's interesting.
right.
That is very, very interesting. But you know, I'm going to tell you something. This man, his name is Mark O'Donnell. Some know him as John Redwood. He used fictitious names. He is really a good reporter. I have to tell you that. I'm really impressed by him. He does a really good job. He wants to dot all the I's and cross all the T's. I mean, really, he's an asset, a real asset to Lloyd's program. And excellent. It was done excellently. I have to say that. And but this Mark O'Donnell, I'll tell you, I'm very, very impressed by that man. He does a great job. Thank you, Mark. Well, yeah.
And you're doing a great job, Rick. I'm going to say goodbye now. Thank you,
All
Rick.
right. Thank you, Betty. Thank you very much. So there you go.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. So there we go. That's Betty. That's Betty. She's just getting out the witnesses and how good it is to hear from her. But anyways, I'm going to go back. This David Splane, I want to just reiterate here what I'm feeling. Now, I'm getting the feeling, and Cedars and all the rest of his crew, they got the feeling too. Something's coming down big. Something's coming down big. They're prepping, as Betty said, spinning, but they are prepping the Jehovah's Witnesses to hear something in the news. I don't know when, maybe the next few months, maybe the next year. I do believe, because I know the Watchtower is being indicted in the state of New York, at least being challenged in a lawsuit. And in the lawsuit, they're naming the governing body members individually to show up in court. They're summoning them to court. So, you know, this is going to be all over the news, governing body into court. If they even show up, they probably won't. But it's going to be all over the news. And this Splane is saying, just be aware that these are all false reports. You're on with us. Go ahead, California.
Yeah, hi, Rick. It's Constance. I was going to say, you know, Owen Zalkin here in California and San Diego is the one that has that lawsuit against all the governing body members. And I'm just curious to know, you know, how that's all going to turn out. And maybe you're starting to come to some fruition with regards to that. And I see the governing body members like a bunch of snakes, you know, they're just crawling around and slithering around, and they're using all their manipulation and control to try to what's the word, just to brainwash, you know, the JWs who are still in the organization. And, you know, Rick, they're just lying through their teeth. I mean, my heart goes out to anybody who's still in that organization, because the mind control is so incredibly strong. I mean, we were taught, you know, we thought it was a Christian organization, and we were taught that, to be honest, is really, really a Christian.
So
Bible. This is Super Beats. And so when you listen to Splane going on with all this, I mean, you can just see right through all the lies, Rick. You know, he and all the other governing body members they're not just afraid of us. I mean, they're absolutely terrified of us. And why could that be? Well, because we're exposing all their lies and hypocrisy. And so, you know, it's like they don't even have a foundation. You know, it's like Jesus said, build your foundation on a concrete slab, you know, on a rock versus sand. Well, I see Watchtower's foundation on a sand, and they're just crumbling, Rick, you know. So very interesting. I told you Erwin Zalkin and his team, you know, he's Jewish, Rick. They're brilliant people. And so it's not just Erwin Zalkin, but it's his whole entire legal team. I can't wait to see how it all plays out. They're going to take those people down, and they're going to be held accountable. So thank you.
Well, Connie, I want you to get your little blowy horn out. I want you to get your little pointed hat. I want you to. We're gonna have a front row seat. We're gonna have a front row seat. You got the tickets. I got the tickets. We're gonna have that front row seat. Watching this organization go down, and that's what we're gonna be doing.
Yeah.
So we're gonna see that happen soon. Isn't that a wonderful thing? That some people might say, Rick, don't be so mean toward these guys. Are you serious? These guys have caused so much harm, suicides, deaths, mixed up families. they deserve to go to prison. I hope that can happen. I hope it can happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've destroyed a lot of people's lives, Rick, and many generations. My heart goes out to those who were born in JWs. Oh, my word, and I mean, I've met many JWs. I'm sure you have too, Rick, where they're like fourth, fifth generation, and just all the damage this organization has done. And, people, I mean, I'm speaking on behalf of myself. I've been out almost 40 years. But the residual effect, my God, this is mind control from, class 100. The organization's had this planned out for years, and the damage it's done to all of us. I mean, we're all on this journey of healing our souls and our mind and our spirits and coming in a place of love on your show, Rick, and we thank you so much for that. So it's a real blessing to be out. It really is. And we have survived. That's the thing about it, Rick. We have totally survived, and we're on our way,
Wow. I mean, after 40 years, boy, talk about residual effect, and it's still in you. It's still in you. It's hard to
honey,
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I almost committed suicide because of it, when I was 28, and I'm 66 now. So, I speak from a place of not just reading a book. I mean, we've all lived it. Like I've always said, Rick, we're not actors on this show. We're the real deal. So, we're just trying to reach people one by one from a place of love. And there is hope, but that mind control spirit, it is a demonic spirit. It's called mind control. And it's just so deep and it's so ingrained that, they are not the truth. You learn all the things, Rick. I've always wondered, this organization, how financially strong they were. Oh my gosh. They're so much wealthier than I ever could even imagine. Even like that brother Steve brought about just 1,000 pieces of property there around Pennsylvania. They all had us duped. Oh my gosh. We gave our blood, sweat, and tears 24/7 for that organization. Rick, they do need to be held accountable.
Well said. Yes, they do have to be held accountable. Yes, go ahead, sir.
It is Chewy.
Yes, Chewy.
I got to work on it, but I got a photo. I had a brainstorm, a light bulb that popped up in my head. I don't know why it didn't pop in earlier, but I've got a picture of when my family and I first moved where I live at now, back in 1972, and it's all four of us, and we're all dressed up in our Sunday meeting clothes, and it's obvious that we were getting ready to go to the meeting. All right, well, that was in like 72, 73, 74 maybe, and then I'm going to take another picture on exactly the same spot, and it's just me left, and I'm in my 50s, and I'm going to put them side by side, and I'm going to send that to you, and I want you sometime to put it on the video suite, or just have some people laugh at it or something, when is the generation going to end or something like that, or, Jesus didn't leave plural. He didn't say generations. He said one generation. How many generations are we into this thing? Or even the quote of the scripture, this generation will not pass away. Well, what do you got? What do you got?
Well, Chewy, they changed the generation 16 times. I got in there and checked it out and checked how many times they changed it. 16 times they changed it, and they got away with it. And the witnesses are still believing it. Oh, Chewy, thank you. Send me the picture. I'd love to see the picture. Thank you.
Yeah. It's got me when I'm real young, my brother, my mom, and my dad in it, and I'll get a picture right out to the side of it, and I'm going to hold up a Watchtower.
Good. I'd love to see it.
Look at this. Look at this.
Yeah. No, I'll put it up on the suite. I'll put it up on Facebook next week. Good. Thank you.
I'll do it. I got a couple of vacation days. I got to find the whole picture. I know I got it somewhere. I got to find it somewhere.
Well, good for you. Good for you. Thank you, Chewy. Well, there you have. That's Chewy. Well, he's out in Oklahoma too. Well, let's get back here to Splane. I can see they're trying to build this crescendo. They're carefully orchestrating every little thing they say in this talk about apostasy. Now, what I want you to listen to now, I want you to hear specifically Splane saying how the witnesses are being picked on, that the witnesses are being picked on by the news media and by the government. Let's hear what he has to say. Let's listen in. I know you'll find it very fascinating.
This matter of Jehovah's people being the subject of malicious reports isn't new. Think about the days of Queen Esther. Wicked Haman brings a bad report to King Ahasuerus. The Jews don't obey our laws. They're a danger to society. Does Ahasuerus check the facts? Does he demand proof? No. Ahasuerus is naive. He allows himself to be taken in by Haman. Well, there are a lot of modern day Hamans today, and they use similar tactics. As a result, some government officials are taken in. They believe the slanderous accusations of the apostates. Now, if they just take the time to check the facts, they'd see that they're being lied to, but they don't check the facts.
Well, did you hear that? Did you hear that? He's saying, you know, these news media reports, and they're kind of coming against the witnesses with all this negative news. And he's saying even the governments are being fooled by these news reports. And the first thing that came up to my thought, or my way of thinking, is the Australia Royal Commission. Everybody knows back in 2017, that was all over the place. I mean, you couldn't escape getting on a XJW site and reading about it and hearing about it in the news media. I mean, it was in major newspapers, television news. But he's coming on here. Basically, I got the feeling he's trying to say that he's not going to come out and say Australia Royal Commission, but he's saying even the governments of the world are being duped, being misled by these news reports. Boy, I'll tell you, the more I hear this guy, the more I hear this talk, he's scared to death. He's like an animal caught in the corner. He doesn't know where to go. I know that he's mentioned in one of the lawsuits in New York to go to court and testify about what they know about child abuse. Let's see, how he's going to handle that when he gets to court. If they even do, they might just get out of here before the court date comes. This guy's a nervous animal, I'm telling you. This talk is very disturbing. Body language. I mean, I don't study body language. I got a book here on body language, but I'm no expert. But you guys, you can tell, right? I mean, you're all humans. We all get up. We do the same thing every day for the most part. And you can read body language. And what I'm seeing here, the body language isn't right. This is not a very calming talk. This is a talk to try to convince the Jehovah's Witnesses that they have the truth. Everyone, the apostates are lying. The news media is lying. The government is now being duped. This is unbelievable. You're on with us. Go ahead. California, once again, you're on with us. Go ahead.
Hi, Rick.
Yes.
Oh, never mind. Sister, go.
Go ahead, Emily. Go ahead, honey. I'll go after you.
Oh, bless your heart. Yeah, Rick, I was just thinking, once again, what's good for the goose isn't good for the gander. You notice how Splane is using the example of Ahasuerus not checking out the facts. Like, that's something kind of stupid to not do, check out the facts. He just condemned a whole group for no reason, and he didn't check out the facts. But in the Jehovah's Witness organization, that's exactly what they're told not to do. Don't check out the facts. Just believe what we tell you. So they're saying, oh, it's so stupid that the governments believe these supposed lies without any proof, but they don't stress the fact that what happens when they do have proof. Thank you, Rick.
Thank you, Emery. All right, Constance, you're on with us.
Well, honey, the thing I was going to say, this is, not only just the tone, but it's how he's saying it. It really gives me the heebie-jeebies, Rick. I'm originally from the San Francisco Bay Area, and Jim Jones was right in San Francisco. And it just reminds me so much, Rick, of how Jim Jones was very charismatic and rubbing shoulders with the politicians. And, you know, he got like 982 people. He had them convinced that they had to leave their homes in the San Francisco Bay Area to go all the way down to Guyana because they were going to do some farming, some agricultural thing, all the way in the country of Guyana. And it was all, you know, it was all of this like a sneaky, slithery snake. And then what ended up happening, Rick, 982 people were slaughtered because of that man. And that's what reminds me of the Splane. You know, he's setting all these people up, all these people that are very good-hearted and they mean well. A lot of JWs are, but he's sending them right into the slaughterhouse.
Well, I'm so glad you see the same. We're on the same page, Constance. We might have been separated at birth at one time. You think exactly the way I think. So that's good. That's good. Yes. Yes. We have the same line of thinking. Thank you. Well, it's very, she said it gives her the heebie-jeebies. It gives me the goosebumps. It really does. Just looking at this man, this man does not look like a normal man. I don't know what it is, but when I see the governing body, maybe my mind is just so against them, but I do not see an opening heart. I do not see a loving person. When I look at the governing body these days, they look like death warmed over. They look like Satan, the devil, is speaking through them, and they're his spokespeople. I think that's what's going on here. Seriously. Well, let's listen to now. I want to go more to this. They're bringing this up. There's going to be, they somehow are nervous as can be that, boy, did I lose that? Hold on one second. They are nervous as can be. Well, anyways, I don't know what happened here. Did I lose my YouTube feed? I think I did. Let me just see if I can't get this back here for us. We just had that on here, and we seem to have lost it. But let me see if I can't get that back so that we could go back into the feed. Well, we lost it. But let me just tell you, I'll just reiterate here, then we can open up the lines and talk about it. But he goes on and on and on. And kind of like his concluding comments are, you're going to continue to hear false reports, not only from the apostates, but from the news media. And they're going to be making up all kinds of accusations that the Jehovah's Witnesses are committing crimes. That's basically what the news media is going to say. But he says, just like Jesus was also, he was also accused of a crime, right? With the Jews. And when they were there in the Roman Empire. And he was saying that Jesus was accused of a crime, but he was innocent. And he's using that as an example that this is exactly what the Jehovah's Witness governing body are going to experience. Just like Jesus, they're going to be evidently accused, many of the officials of the Watchtower, but yet at the same time, like Jesus, even though he accused him, he wasn't guilty. Can you imagine that? And then he went on to say, and this really is sending a wrong message. He also said in the context of that video that jurors, people who are on a jury, they're prejudiced. These people become prejudiced, and they're prejudiced against Jehovah's Witnesses. And he was saying that, you know, jurors sometimes make a decision based on prejudice and not fact. And then he went on to say that he used the example of a doctor that he knew that actually he was a lawyer. I'm sorry. It was a lawyer who was defending a doctor. And even though the doctor did everything they could to help save a person, the jury still did not decide in favor of the doctor. And the reason is because they did not have all the facts, but they made a decision based on what they heard and what they read about without basing it on facts. So he's kind of using that as the same example when the governing body may be getting indicted, he didn't say that, but I'm thinking that myself. If they're ever brought into court, don't pay attention to it because they're being brought up on false charges. And then in the last comment he made before the talk ended, and this really got me thinking, he's saying that it's best to even settle things out of court because a lot of the witnesses are hearing that the Watchtower is settling a lot of these child abuse cases out of court. They're not even going to court. So a lot of witnesses are questioning that. But he says, well, it's best. Jesus even said it'd be best to settle the matter. He read a scripture, I forget where it was, but it'd be best to settle the matter before you go to court. So basically what he's telling you is they are settling lawsuits all over the place without going to court. Witnesses are hearing about it. But he says that's the best way to do it. And then, because then you're going to get the best settlement and you're not going to get a bunch of lies told about you. Can you believe that? That is so, boy, if the witnesses believe that, I mean, we got to bridge this, Ellen, right, friends? Well, you're on JW World News. That's the news the Watchtower doesn't want you talking about, but we talk about it here every Saturday night. Who would like to say hello? Yes, Chewy, go ahead.
You know, when I hear talks like that, bring it on. They just screwed up by giving that talk. That's going to wake a lot of people up. A lot of people up. Because he showed his anger there. And he really screwed it up. Because at the end of the talk, he was started talking about you need to imitate the Bereans. What the Bereans do? And he almost said, y'all, check it out. He almost come out and said that. I think he did. But, you know, going, well, you know, what's witnesses going to do? You know, they're going to check it out. You know, and the other thing is, when I hear talks like this, it makes me know that I made the right decision to get out of that thing. Because who in their right mind would get up there and invite people, which is basically what he's doing, is he's inviting people, don't touch this red button, don't touch the red button, don't do that, don't do that. All these acts, don't go any further. You don't need to. We'll do all the research for you. Don't touch that button. You know, that's a delusional person. I'm glad he's in charge of that organization. I really am. I want him to screw up even more, and all the rest of them that get up there. They're so delusional. They think they're above the law, and they're so delusional. I think some of them actually believe it. Some of them don't. Some of them are just straight up hucksters and charlatans. But I think he actually believes it, and there's a couple of them in there. I think Loesch and all the rest of them, I'm not sure about. But I think Loesch believes it too. But bring it on. I mean, they're delusional. They're just delusional. And when I hear stuff like that, it's a Chewy, you made the right decision. You know. Anyway, that's all I got.
Well, glad for you, Chewy. You did make the right decision. Yes, you did, and got yourself out of that terrible cult. Wow. Okay, so things are moving in the right direction. We are moving on. We have a program coming up after our program tonight at 9:30 in about 20 minutes, I guess it is. Yeah, about 20 minutes. We're going to go to Heart to Heart. And if you haven't heard the program Heart to Heart, you got to listen to it. Activist Dan Clark and his wife Angela, they're coming on with their program Heart to Heart. They do have a guest tonight, an ex-witness, Jack Pine. He's going to be on with them, and of course he wants to talk about occultism in the Watchtower. So we're looking forward to that program tonight. They'll be coming on at 9:30 in about 20 minutes. Plus also at 11 o'clock tonight, or right around there, we have Linda James and Daniel coming in with their Healing After the Watchtower program. And, they go all night long. So, our programs run from 5:45 sometimes till 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock the next Sunday morning. So if you can't sleep tonight and you can't get enough of this ex-Jehovah's Witness news, well, by all means, check the 6 screens out. Like I say, after this program, Facebook goes down, YouTube goes down. And then if you want to listen to the program, go to go to our 6 screens of the Watchtower.com. 6 screens of the Watchtower.com. And you can scroll down. It'll give you a telephone number to dial in so you can listen. Or if you dial down, past a bunch of telephone numbers, you'll see a link. Hit here for the video suite. You can click in there. You can put a fictitious name in. No one's going to check you out. There's no URL addresses. So you come in and you can just chill out a little bit. And you can listen wherever you are in the world. You can listen in and you'll see what's happening behind the curtains of the Watchtower. All right. Now, well, anyways, Chewy was just saying that Splane, if he heard Splane, that would be enough to get him out. But also, I got word coming into the 6 screens today about a 22-year-old girl from Europe. And evidently, she's a 4th-generation Jehovah's Witness, according to the information I have her. Her father is not one of Jehovah's Witnesses. Her mother still is. But the point I'm trying to make here, I'll cut right to the chase, is she heard Splane's talk. Evidently, it wasn't this particular talk, but it was one about a week or so ago on JW streaming. And what Splane was saying is if your father is not one of Jehovah's Witnesses, if he's an unbeliever, not one of Jehovah's Witnesses, then you're fatherless. Now, that touched my heart somewhat because my mother was a very loyal witness and my father was not a witness. But I don't consider myself fatherless when I was even a Jehovah's Witness because my father wasn't one. But that's what the Watchtower was suggesting, that if you explain here, this guy's a crackpot. He's explaining that, if you have a father that's not a Jehovah's Witness, then you're as good as fatherless. That's a bunch of baloney. That is not right to make statements like that. But he made it, and because he made that statement, this young girl said, that's it. She was scheduled to get baptized today. She got a hold of the elders. She says, I'm not going to get baptized because of what that man said, Splane said. I'm not fatherless. I have a wonderful father. And just because he's not one of Jehovah's Witnesses, I love him, and he's a great dad. And also, she talked to her friend about it. Her friend was also going to get baptized with her. Her friend said, that's it. Pull a plug. I'm not going to get baptized either. Do you see how this foolish reasoning in the Watchtower is actually sending people to the exit door? Good for those girls. Good for those girls. My goodness, I found that very, very fascinating. Boy, I'll tell you, friends, at times I think the Watchtower, at times I really think that they are deliberately trying to force people out of this organization. I get that feeling. I mean, I don't know. Nobody knows because they don't really speak about their private matters. But sometimes I think that they want a whole new group of people. Maybe they don't want all of these so-called Jehovah's Witnesses. And they know darn well that they're figuring all out. So maybe they're going for something brand new. I know they're rebranding. We've been talking about that for years. But maybe they want to get rid of everybody and just say, hey, let's start new here. Let's get people that, can come in cold. You're on with us. Go ahead. Speak up.
Hey, Rick.
Hi, this is a
Apostle Babe first. We got a number. We got a number of people. Go ahead, Apostle Babe. Yep.
I'm Apostle Babe, and I am livid with that brother saying, I'm not even calling him brother. I'm livid with that person. How dare him say that those children are fatherless when those men are still in their lives? They are their fathers. How dare them? How they've gone above and beyond what they do when a brother chooses to not be a Jehovah's Witness any longer. And then an elder will walk in the house and say, your father no longer has any spiritual authority over you. Then they get somebody else to study with the kid to have the spiritual, relationship with him. This is disgusting. Absolutely disgusting.
Boy, I see.
And as far as that last point you were making about when we were listening to Splane or talk about, okay, they were talking about the jury could be prejudiced. So there's worldly people, right? The jury could be prejudiced, but we, Jehovah's Witnesses, we choose to settle things out of court like Jesus suggested. Yeah, let me just add on another thing. Usually when they settle things out of court, it comes with a gag order, which means the person cannot discuss it. It shuts the whole case down. We don't even get much of the information. So here they're saying Jesus' way and then the worldly way.
Oh, Apostle.
That was terrible.
Well, that lit your fire. It lit my fire, too. It really lit my fire because I had an unbelieving father, but he was the greatest dad you'd ever want. But my goodness, for them to make statements like that, how sick. Thank you, Apostle Babe. Thank you very much. Okay,
Thank you.
You're on with us. Go ahead.
I have a quick comment on that because I'm calling from Oregon. I left the Witnesses in 1985, about then, and two elders came over to see me because I resigned, and one of the elders, as he was walking out the door, turned to me and said, "Your boys are fatherless boys." Well, that got even put into the Oregonian newspaper on the front page because they did a story on what they were doing to families and shunning, and that was clear back then. And this is the first time I've heard that this idea is still floated by the Witnesses. I'm sorry to hear that, and I'm sorry for those who have to hear that, but it's an insane thing to say to someone. That's all I wanted.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you. Oh,
I remember it being taught back in the late 60s and early 70s, that very same thing about being fatherless.
yeah, it's very sick. It's very sick. All right, go ahead. You're on with us. Go ahead, speak up. We got a number of callers on there. If you want to say something, do it. But no, that is sick. That is not fair to make statements like that. But that's hitting below the belt. There's many fathers out there that are not Jehovah's Witnesses that are better fathers than even Jehovah's Witness fathers would be. It's despicable. Despicable. All right, you're on with us. Speak it on up. You're on.
Hello, Mr. Farron.
Let's go to Ken, then we'll go to Constance. Go ahead, Ken.
Okay. Hey, Constance. How about Constance coming on first?
All right, come on, Constance.
Oh, thank you. I was just going to say something briefly from what, the topic is. Rick, we had, in my congregation, there were two separate families that I knew because I was close to these sisters. And anyway, we were all about the same age. And we grew up together. And anyway, the point I'm trying to make it in both families, their mother was a baptized JW, but their fathers were not. So he was the worldly father. So, but he was the one that was out there busting his buns and, providing for the family, and the wife were the ones that stayed home, raising the girls. Well, what's very interesting about it is that these four sisters of these two different families, they looked down on their father because he was never a witness. And what's interesting is now you fast forward all these years later, and somebody's trying to call me. Anyway, you fast forward all these years later, and now they're out of the organization, and they realize, what an incredible father that they had, that was never a witness, that he was a really hard worker, provided for the family, paid the mortgage, brought the food on the family, paid for the food, the bills, the car, and everything. And now they have a different perspective on their mothers because, the mother was so indoctrinated from the organization. But it just proves how evil this organization is, because it's just another weapon that they use to divide families. That's what it is, So thank you.
Isn't that despicable, Constance, that a religious, supposedly Christian organization that would put that much strife and division in a family? Shame on them. Thank you.
Well, Rick, I was going to say my mom's steady, but my dad had passed away, and I adored my father. And I'm telling you, I would have never, ever gotten baptized if anybody ever said anything horrible about my dad. I was Daddy's little girl, and I just adored my father. And I didn't have him for very many years in my life, but, I totally agree with Linda James. How dare they do that? That's horrible. And even though somebody might be worldly, that doesn't mean that they're a horrible person. Okay, look at how many elders are pedophiles. Okay, so it has nothing to do with your title. It's what's in a person's heart and the quality and the character of who that person is. So thank you, Rick.
Well said. Well said. And it really does. It just gives you goosebumps. It makes you feel so uneasy when we have an organization that would make a statement like that. How immature, how hateful to make a statement like that. And, even, this woman, she was writing on Reddit, and I was reading her story this week. And, talk about messed up people. She was looking for help. Her husband, she got divorced from him, but her husband, she came home from work one day, and her husband was in the closet with a leather belt around his neck going to hang himself. So this startled the Jehovah's Witness woman. She says, "What's going on with you?" And he says, "Well," he came out and he says, "I'm really feeling bad about what I did." He was actually, she used the term humping his smaller sister. And, he did that years ago. And now he's confessing to his wife that he actually had somewhat relations with his younger sister. That's pedophilia. And the sister, well, she left the organization. She couldn't stand it. And she even went to the parents of the man that was doing this, and she divorced him. But, they coddled him, and they brought them, they're Jehovah's Witness parents, and they brought him into the house, and this young girl is still there. So she was wondering, what do I do? What do I do with this man? So they said, call the police. So she called the police on him, and good for her. But, here we have a story, fatherless, an unbeliever, but they have all of these perverts, all of these pervert men in the organization. Oh, they're wonderful people because they're a Jehovah's Witness. But you might have a good father, really good father, that would never even think of doing anything like that. But because he's not a Jehovah's Witness, you're fatherless. That is absolutely sick. Oh, my goodness. Well, I tell you, I get work.
Yeah, Mr. Farron?
Yes, Ken. Yes, Ken.
Yeah, I've been listening to everything off and on here with interest. I was interrupted a few times here, and I caught a lot of stuff here. Well, first, I got a comment to make on a few things here. First of all, this bozo right here, this Splane, who the heck does he think he is, trying to pass judgment on whose father was good and whose father wasn't good? Really, who is he to pass judgment like that? By whose authority? And then, that's number one. And then number two, he goes on to rant and rave in that little speech he has, everything like that, and it's always blame somebody else, but never blame yourself. He looks at everybody else, but he doesn't look at himself, or his colleagues or whatever it is. You ask the question, whose fault is it? Well, they're the ones, and so forth. And he talks about lying and apostasy and everything like that, and false literature. Well, the biggest promoter of false religion is the Watchtower Society. So, and everything like that. And he's just being judgmental and trying to blame everybody else when he doesn't. When him and the Watchtower people are to blame themselves.
Well, I'm going to answer the first thought you had. Who does he think he is? Well, it seems like he's even putting himself in position of God here. I mean, he's going to make a rendering on a good person because they're not one of Jehovah's Witnesses, that they wouldn't be a good father. Who is he? And I go along with you. Who is he to make that type of a judgment? That is really, really nasty. And very, very, well, it makes your skin crawl. Yes.
I was just thinking, I didn't realize that had been said, and it kind of making sense to me now. You guys all know my daughter, she's 11, Savannah's 11 now, and here not too long ago, she asked me, because I get to talk to her on the phone Mondays and Fridays, and she asked me one night, I think it was on a Friday, do I have to talk to you every Monday and Friday, or can I just call you when I want to? And I was kind of like, okay, I wonder where this is going. And I said, well, that's fine. I just don't want to go weeks or a long time without talking to you, because these are the only days I get, right? Well, I found out later from her mom is that she's struggling with. The fact is, in her mind, it would be easier for her to disconnect from me now than when Armageddon comes and Jehovah destroys me, dealing with that pain then. So just to get it over with, basically, is I'm in a sense dead in her eyes by Jehovah. Kind of the same thing that that so-called faithful and discreet slave member was saying. It's just disgusting, you know. It crushed my heart that a 11-year-old even has to entertain that idea or even go there. You know what I'm saying?
Yes. Well, Dan, that's sad. That's very sad. And I know it's been very upsetting for you, but you're hanging in there. And I know you're glad to see the Watchtower falling apart, and you're taking part in that. You are an activist. You an apostle, babe. Come on, you're healing after the Watchtower program at 11, and you're helping a lot of people. And we're all of us together as one big team, as well as all the different apostates on YouTube, all of the people. There's so many of them. There's a proliferation of people exposing the Watchtower. I love them all. I love them all. Keep doing it. We're getting points on the scoreboard. Thank you, Daniel. Thank you. Well, there you have it. I want, yes, Constance.
I just wanted to say one last thing, honey. You know, what's amazing is I think the governing body members, you know, we've heard this several times, but I think it's true. I think many of them are very narcissistic. I think they're totally out of control with the real world, with what it's like to get married, have a family, have a full-time job, take care of your house, pay a mortgage. You know, they're just not like the average person today, you know? And not only that, Rick, but the majority of them are not even fathers, okay? I remember back in the day when I was in the organization in the 70s and 80s, there was only one member of the governing body members who was a father. And I don't even know who it was. I just know it was only one. So all these other ones, Rick, you know, they don't even know what it's like to be a father, let alone, you know, somebody who's, so what if he's not a witness? I hate to say that term worldly because that's such an ugly label. But, you know, even if he's never been a witness, so what? You know, these governing body members, you know, they don't even know what it's like to be a father and the responsibility. And, you know, to tear families apart like that, there's nothing Christian about that, Rick. That is just so evil. It's so evil and satanic. And even like with Daniel, you know, his little baby girl needs him. You know, that's very traumatic. I lost my father at 13. I know what I'm talking about. And she's only 11. That's very traumatic. And, you know, Watchtower doesn't have a right to do that. That's not what God and you know, Christianity and the Bible's all about. It isn't. It's all about love and family and staying together as a family. And it really ticks me off, Rick, you know? It just does.
Well, I can understand that. Thank you, Constance. And I want to thank everyone. I want to thank everyone. We have time for one more comment, so go ahead. You're on with us.
Yeah, Rick.
Yes, go ahead.
I was wondering, I didn't hear you mention anything about that Jehovah's Witness special coming up next Wednesday.
Yeah, well, I didn't mention it, but Anne-Marie mentioned it. It's going to be on. Anne-Marie, you on there with us? You want to tell the audience about the program coming up?
Yeah, it's on Vice, VICE channel.
Right.
It's on Wednesday, the 28th. And it seems like they're spending the entire day talking about this crazy stuff in religions. They're discussing all of the very controlling religions. The one on specifically focusing on Jehovah's Witnesses comes on at 3 p.m. in the afternoon, Pacific Standard Time. And then later in the day on the same channel, they're going to have a group discussion where there are members of all of the different religions that they talked about during the day. So it's
sharing the commonalities and stuff, yeah.
Exactly.
Right.
So it's going to be at 3 o'clock Pacific Standard Time on the Vice channel on Dish. If you have Dish, it's channel 121. but I'm sure Vice, VICE, comes on different.
Yeah, I have Vice. I seen the commercial there. That's why I was wondering if anybody mentioned it.
Yeah, and also I've been trying to ask everybody to tell their witness friends that they might want to check out Escaping Polygamy, because it really shows what people under the authority and control of cults go through and how they suffer and what they are afraid of and why they're afraid to leave and the punishment of shunning. And I always hope they'll get a prescription. Rick, do I have time to kind of give a little light on this whole thing about JW parents and fatherless?
Yeah, well, we're over time already, Amber. If you can do it in about a minute or so, do it in about a minute or so. Go ahead.
Yes, thank you. Just for the clarification of anyone listening who doesn't get it, in Watchtower, a proper father and a proper mother, they basically want all parents to be very well-trained cult recruiters of their own children. They are tasked with the responsibility of programming their own children with the Watchtower indoctrination. And that is what is called a quote-unquote proper spiritual parent. Spiritual is basically a code word for Watchtower cult programming. And so if a mother or a father especially who's supposed to be taking the lead in being the spiritual parent, aka cult programmer, if he is not doing that, then the elders step in and say he no longer has authority as a parent. Because from their point of view, if you are not being a proper cult parent, you are no parent at all. Thank you, Rick.
Well, there you go, Anne Marie. Very good. Oh, all good comments. I wish we had more time, but we got to go heart to heart. Well, friends, now we bring you right up to date on what's going on behind the curtains of the Watchtower. And I want to say this now. Next week, you want to come back? We got Reese, the conspiratorialist. She's going to be on next week with us. Watchtower and the Occult Connection. I believe we got Reese tamed down a little bit. He kind of came out of the bullpen last week, a little bit nasty, but we're going to have him on next week with us again. He's got more to share with us. That's the Watchtower and the Occult Connection next week at 9:30. But now we're going to heart. And remember this, friends, the last one leaving the Watchtower, please turn off the new light. Thank you. Heart to heart's next. We'll see you there. Thank you. All right, I'm just going to go over now. I'm going to disconnect Facebook. I'm going to disconnect YouTube. So let me get over right now. I have to disconnect Facebook.